The Yankees have one left-handed bullpen option. That's not the only thing we're worried about. Let's talk about it.
You are Locked On Yankees, your daily New York Yankees podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Yankees, which is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you for making us your first listen every day. And every day, I have my producer, Steve, with me. Steve, tell everyone what we're talking about today.
Let's talk about the Yankees bullpen. We have our full Locked On Yankees Ultimate Guide tomorrow, so hit subscribe. But we wanted to take this time out to talk about the bullpen, something that we've kind of touched on a little bit, but haven't fully dove in just yet. I want to start with a conversation about who's going to close. I think that's maybe the most interesting conversation to have right now. Stacey, let's run down what the bullpen looks like right now, anticipated to look like, because as of this recording, we don't have the official roster just yet, and we'll also get into these a little bit later in the show. But we'll start with, here's what your options look like right now, what the bullpen will be. Clay Holmes, Michael King, Jonathan Loaisiga, the lone left-handed option, Wandy Peralta, Ron Marinaccio, Jimmy Cordero, Albert Abreu, and then it's either Ian Hamilton or Greg Weissert, and it seems like Hamilton might be the leading candidate there. So I just wanted to start with that. Now we can kind of get into closing options, because again, I think that's maybe the more intriguing part of this whole conversation.
Right. And as we've said, it feels like it's going to be closer by committee. I feel like it's not going to be one guy's job. Even though Clay Holmes was the closer last year, he became the closer because they couldn't rely on Aroldis Chapman. But he kind of lost it in the second half. And I mean, it depends on who's coming up in the ninth inning, what kind of handedness there is, because you know, like we said, Wandy Peralta is the lone left-hander in the bullpen. No more Lucas Lecky, no more Aroldis Chapman. And, you know, I don't know who I would want to put there. I know a couple of years ago, I wanted Loaisiga. I felt like he could be the closer. I felt like he was almost like, not quite like Mo, but there was a quietness about him. And, you know, his velocity was pretty good. And I felt like he could become like a Mo, but he hasn't panned out as much as we had hoped. But he was the person that I was thinking of probably about 2 seasons ago. But out of all of these guys, I think it's going to be a wait and see kind of situation.
If you had to choose right now as one and done bona fide closer, do you have a choice?
I guess starting with Holmes, just because he did it and he knows how to handle coming into the ninth inning more than some of the other guys do.
Do you have any credence to what I've been semi-preaching over the last couple of weeks in Jimmy Cordero? Do you trust that?
That could also work.
I think if like you had said, it's probably going to be by committee. That's what it feels like right now.
Yeah.
But I feel like Jimmy Cordero might be one of those guys that emerges as a leading candidate, given his track record with the White Sox, giving his track record with the Rail Riders last season. He was a natural fit as the closer with Scranton Wilkes-Barre last year. So I think that if there's one guy where I'm like, I don't know if it's leaning towards, I don't know. I'm biased. I watched Jimmy Cordero all last season.
Right.
And when it wasn't Weissert, it was Cordero.
You
know, especially when it came down to it. Yes, at the beginning of the season was Shelby Miller, and he was really good. He honestly had a really good start to the season, then opted out. But Jimmy Cordero to me is a guy that has all the makeup of a closer, a major league closer.
Yeah.
I want to see how it plays at the major league level, and I think that's what the Yankees are going to do as well. But I think you can anticipate Jimmy Cordero as a candidate.
Yeah, I could see that too. It's just really interesting. It's going to be, it's kind of, you know, I said this on another show, you know, the Yankees had a closer for so long, a Hall of Famer, first ballot, unanimous, unbelievable, never going to be another dude like him ever. And they were so spoiled. And to see it not come to this, that sounds so obnoxious. And that sounds like such an obnoxious Yankee fan thing to say, but it's kind of strange to have it be like this where we don't know what they're going to do with closer. It's just very, and I know it's been nearly 10 years since Mo retired, but it's still kind of strange to not have the person that you think is going to be the closer.
Yeah. I mean, but that role had been defined even post Rivera.
True.
Right? There were guys that slotted into those spots naturally. Did they not all of them pan out? No, but there were spots in that They were like, okay, going into the season, we know it's you.
Yeah.
Like, or it was down to 2 guys. Here,
Yeah.
it's like, it honestly feels like any one of these guys could emerge as the guy.
Yeah.
And maybe some dark horse candidates in Scranton at some point.
Yes.
But I mean, if it's money on it, I wouldn't say Peralta, because you can't just save your lefty for the 9th.
Right.
Right. If you're really going to roll with one lefty moving forward, which I think, I mean, I want to talk about this in the second segment, but I still think a move is coming at some point. I think there's no way the Yankees end the season with this bullpen and this lack of left-handed options. I really think they go out and get somebody, whether that's just a signing of somebody got let go here at the end of spring, or it ends up being, obviously a trade or something like that. But I mean, I wouldn't put it past Ron Marinaccio. I wouldn't put it past Michael King. I think it's fun. I think we're going to have a longer battle for the closer role than we had for the spring training starting shortstop role.
Right.
So I think that's, as we transition into the season starting here on Thursday, now you have this battle that you can kind of keep your eye on. Is the closer battle as sexy as the shortstop battle? No, like, let's be real. But it didn't seem like there was much of an emphasis on it, if any emphasis at all during spring.
That's exactly the difference, because all the attention was put on the shortstop battle. I mean, Hal even mentioned it before the spring training started. So, and there was nothing really pointing toward the bullpen. It was just everyone was thinking, no more Aroldis Chapman, and that's it. And there was nothing really happening. You didn't really hear anything, even on the broadcasts, about it. And it's kind of odd in a way. It was almost like the Yankees were kind of not trying to take attention away from the fact that they don't really have a closer, but it almost felt like that in a way, because they were focusing on everything else but that. I don't know. It felt weird.
Aroldis Chapman, 43 games last season, 9 saves. So doesn't feel too different, I guess. Like, it's not like Chapman's gone, now what?
Right.
So it was kind of a natural ease out process here.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's if that feels better or not for Yankees fans, but it's reality.
Now, the one thing I thought was funny when we were coming up with this, I found an article on Yanks Go Yard, and they were talking about how Jeff Passan did his fantasy baseball advice in his season preview. And he's all about maybe picking Marinaccio for closer, which I thought was an interesting pick out of all the guys. He said that, he mentioned that Holmes's grasp on the job is tenuous, as we keep saying, because it is. He said that if Marinaccio can bring his walk rate closer to his minor league levels, where it was 3.5 per 9 last season with the Yanks, it was 4.9 per 9. So if he could bring it down, keep his strikeouts up, you could see it. I mean, he's a righty, of course, but you could see it. And, I liked watching, when Marinaccio was on, he was really good last year, and that could be an intriguing choice. Again, we don't know because it's going to be a battle, but that would be an interesting one.
Yeah, I think part of what has happened here is for the lack of lefties, that is you lost Chap. Lucas Lucky, I think, is we're all kind of forgetting about here.
Yeah.
That was the left-handed option last year.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what do you think of this all? Like, in a perfect world, Ian Hamilton is a lefty or Greg Weissert is a lefty, and you have 2 lefty options, and then we're barely talking about this. But it's not like in AAA all of a sudden there's like this slew of dudes of left-handed options. Like Michael Gomez is a right-hander. Like, there aren't a ton of lefties unless the Yanks wanted to bring up Crook as a left-handed option, but that seems like that's clearly not the case since he just got optioned.
Right.
At least for the time being, it doesn't seem like that's what the Yankees want to do. So to get back to the conversation of, do you think there's going to be a trade here? Would you anticipate a trade? And what would you anticipate that trade looking like? You don't have to pick names, but do you think it's the big splash, the Yankees go out, get a closer? Or do you think it's, let's fill in a little piece here, get some depth on the left-handed side, maybe one's in the bigs, and we have 2 down in AAA, so we have some options? Like, what do you think the course of action is here?
I think they're probably going to if they do it, pick up a piece. I don't think they're going to try and find, because who's even left out there for them to, that's an actual closer that they can pick up. I don't
Yeah, I
really.
feel like there's a lack of closers just in baseball in general. I feel like
Right.
baseball is just kind of shifting away from that mentality as a whole.
Right. And it almost feels like a lot of the teams have closer by committee start. Some teams have starters by committee, opening
Yeah, I
games.
mean,
And
this conversation, just take out names and put out new names, and we can have it for a lot of MLB teams right now. Look at the Dodgers; they don't know who's going to close.
right.
Who is it? The Phillies don't know who's going to close. Like, there's a lot of teams like that, and maybe it's just that we're looking at it right
Do the
now.
Mets know who's going to close?
The Mets don't know who's going to close.
Right.
So, is this as big an issue as we're making it out to be? Maybe not.
Right.
But I think it still is interesting in the scope of the Yankees in general, because, like we said, since Mo, it's been, at least you know who it is.
Yeah.
Right now, you don't know who it is. I guess, I mean, was it like that last year too? Did it feel that way? Like, you don't really, I mean, yeah, like you said, Clay Holmes slotted in, but did it feel that way too?
Well, once he started really pitching well, it didn't. It was like, all right, he's the closer. It was when Chapman really just started falling apart. You thought to yourself, oh my God, how many years left do we have of this guy?
Yeah.
And it felt like it was going to take forever for his contract to end. And thank goodness it did. And yeah, it kind of felt like that a little bit last year. But yeah, it was interesting to see Holmes just emerge out of nowhere for that first half. But it was like him and Trevino, on the offensive side. He was like, all-star, this and that. Holmes, all-star, this and that. And then the second half, they just went, so it's kind of weird, but I don't know. It's just really the closer thing. I think baseball, like you said, it almost feels like teams are moving away from it in a way.
Let's do this. We'll pose it to Locked On Yankees listeners.
Mm-hmm.
Pop in our YouTube comments. If you had to pick today, who is the Yankees closer if the Yankees are up by 2 on Thursday in the 9th inning? Who is Aaron Boone calling? Matchups be damned. Let us know in the comments down below here on our YouTube side. If you're on the audio side, come hop over to the YouTube side and get involved with the show. We're going to talk about the battle for the final spot in the bullpen when we come back.
These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. You want to be 100% certain that you have access to the best qualified candidates available. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the right people for your team faster and for free. Go to LinkedIn Jobs, add your job and the purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you're hiring. Simple tools like screening questions make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience so you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and hire. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonmlb. That's linkedin.com/lockedonmlb to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. So as we mentioned before the first segment, the options for the bullpen: Clay Holmes, Michael King, Jonathan Loaizaga, Wandy Peralta, Ron Marinaccio, Jimmy Cordero, Albert Abreu, and Ian Hamilton, who I had to look up because I didn't know who he was. And to be fair, the Yankees signed him on January 27th. Not a heralded guy, just a guy they picked up. So I just want to put that out there. And if you guys knew who Ian Hamilton was, put it down in the comments because I need to know if you know.
Yeah, so we know Cordero Abreu is official. Everybody else feels official. It's down to that final spot, either
Right.
Ian Hamilton or Greg Weissert. And it seems, according to The Athletic, where we're pulling some of this information from, by the way, we'll leave the link to the article. It needs a subscription, but, it's The Athletic. But it feels like Hamilton might win this spot just because he doesn't have options.
Right. Which
is a bummer for Greg Weissert.
Right. Yeah.
I like Greg Weissert. He has closer potential. I would go Cordero over Weissert at the big league level. just because of the track record with Cordero. But I do like Greg Weissert's stuff. He's got a nasty slider. He had those jitters in that, in the start of his big league career, but I think those butterflies have settled a little bit. And I think he's ready to settle in. I imagine Greg Weissert will be up at some point this season.
Oh yeah, and I think it would probably be sooner rather than later. And it's all about the options. It's, we've been talking about that for weeks with certain guys that, they don't have options. Yeah. Yes.
David Garcia.
Yeah. Speaking of the roster, they said that Boone would let everyone know in 24 to 36 hours that it was going to be finalized, and that was earlier
So
today.
about 3 minutes after you're watching this episode.
Pretty much. Yeah.
But important to note here, the Yankees will have 3 IL 40-man spots opening up with Montas, Efros, and Heel going to the 60.
Yeah.
So that will open some positions up. I think you'll see Ryan Weber at some point this year. That's why he's in the system. Again, I think Weissert and I think Cordero could be a big contributor. And again, I think Weissert will be a decent contributor this season. But yeah, Ian Hamilton's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Guy has gone through a lot of injuries in his career out of his control. He's been in a car accident. He got hit with a comebacker a couple of seasons ago. So Ian Hamilton has kind of had a weird, rocky ride in his major league career, but again, kind of things out of his control.
Yeah. I was looking him up because, as I said, I didn't really know who he was. He's only thrown 14 innings in the majors, split between the White Sox and the Twins, 2018, 2020, and 2022. And, he's just a guy who's trying to prove himself and maybe get a spot on the team, and it's one of those, it almost feels like another, not exactly the same, but Lucas Lecky, he hadn't pitched in the majors since 2015. And that was like the big story before the Yankees put him into the roster in 2021. This guy hadn't pitched since 2015. He's a long shot to make the team, and then he made it. And I feel like Ian Hamilton can be kind of the same thing, especially with what you said. All those injuries were completely out of his control and fluky. And, he's not going to mow anyone down. He throws a fastball, a slider, a sinker, low to mid 90s. He's not going to, blow anyone away.
Yeah.
But he doesn't have options. So they're going to have to.
Yeah, it's either use him or lose him.
Right.
Is the motto with Ian Hamilton. Just a little bit more on his repertoire. You mentioned fastball, slider, sinker. That fastball velocity has gone down over the last couple of years. It's down to around 94 right now. The sinker has some arm side run, which he's a right-handed option. Stop me if you've heard that before. And then he has a tight vertical dropping slider. So again, I think this is a holdover guy.
Yeah.
And you mentioned a guy who's just trying to fight to get on the major league roster. So I think that Ian Hamilton in a regular world is not on the roster, unfortunately for him. That's no knock on Ian Hamilton, but he signed a minor league deal. If he had not signed a minor league deal, then it's probably Weissert. So this is just the nature of the beast right now. I think the Yankees are just weathering the storm. There are a slew of opportunities in the Yankees bullpen. We haven't even mentioned how Clark Schmidt could drop out of the starting rotation once Severino comes back. There are options out of the starting front once the Yankees get a little healthier in about a month's time. So I think our conversation lies heavily in the April conversation of this whole thing.
That's true. And it's not as if Ian Hamilton, hopefully, he's not going to be in any like high leverage situations. He might be the kind of guy that you'll see if the Yankees are down 10-4 in the 8th inning and they need someone just to go in.
Just a guy to get us through. That's the way it feels.
Right. Yeah. You have other guys who will be in higher leverage situations like a King, a Loizaga, a Peralta, even a Marinaccio and a Cordero. But someone like Ian Hamilton will be one of those guys that, you don't expect to see him too much. He's just going to be there.
Here's the glass half full, and I'll end the segment on this.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say Ian Hamilton does emerge and he does have a good April. And then now it's a tough conversation to have in the Yankees bullpen. And who knows? Maybe he could do that. And again, I'll go glass half full and say he will.
The Built March Madness bracket is here. We know you have a favorite bar or puff, and now's your time to make it count. Go to BuiltMarchMadness.com to vote for your favorites. I already voted for Cookie Dough Puff, and you should also support your favorite bar or puff. And when you vote for your favorite bar or puff, you'll be entered into a drawing where 50 lucky Locked On listeners will get a free box of Built. Not only that, but one Locked On fan will win a 12-month subscription to Built to have Built's best bars or puffs delivered monthly straight to your door. You got to try Built. Built is the best protein bar ever. Seriously, they're so amazing, you won't think they're good for you. What makes Built bars and puffs so good? Well, for starters, they're all high in protein, low in sugar, and covered in 100% real chocolate. That's right, real chocolate. So run to BuiltMarchMadness.com right now to vote for your favorite bar or puff and pick up a box while you're there. You can vote every day in March, so hop in and support your pick.
Back here on Locked On Yankees, our final segment of the day. Closing in on opening day, Stacey, we just kind of wanted to wrap up our final thoughts here. I wanted to ask you one last time. I'll put a different spin on the question. Do you think we'll get a trade before opening day to address the left-handed options out of the pen?
Ooh. Oh, I don't know. Oh, that's a tough one because,
we're down to hours.
We're really point. Literally, we're down to hours. It's Tuesday. The Yankees are playing in DC and then they're going to be in New York for opening day. I don't think so. I would be shocked if that happened. I really would. Because as I said, it feels like not that they haven't addressed it, but it feels like they haven't addressed it. Really, there hasn't been chatter about it.
Sweeping it under the rug.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's very strange.
It is kind of strange.
Yeah.
I think maybe their projections are it's not going to be a problem come the regular season, like in its full capacity once we're fully, up and running here.
Yeah.
Maybe they're thinking it's not worth their time to try and address it.
Or maybe they're waiting till the trade deadline to.
Or maybe they're waiting to see if Volpe's going to be good enough to where they can swing Glaber.
Yeah. Oh, that's true. And then maybe bring Peraza up or something.
Yeah, or IKF, they can swing IKF out or whatever. Maybe that's the wait. But I think I agree with you. I don't think we see anything before opening day, before that first pitch is thrown. I think we're looking at the roster.
Yeah, because other than the fact that there's only one lefty, it's not a bad bullpen.
No, it's not. It's not. I think there is still question marks in it.
Right.
I don't think there's like a bunch of dudes that you're just like, these are all lockdown.
Right. Right.
So, but I still think the Yankees, even with the injuries that are going to be ending soon, have a decent starting rotation right now. I think they're okay. I think they're okay outside of facing the Blue Jays in the East. But even looking at the Blue Jays starting rotation, I'm not like super scared of that one right now. I think there's some guys in there that are looking to bounce back, like Jose Berrios is a guy that you're looking as a bounce back candidate for Toronto. So I still think it's the best rotation in the East. And I still think that the Yankees overall have the best team in the East. I don't think that's too hard to say there, even considering all the injuries.
Right. Yeah. It would be really interesting, though, if they did pull off a trade, because as we keep saying, it's not like they're making this an issue, because coming into spring training, it was all about left field. It was all about shortstop. Those were the two things that anyone was talking about. And nothing was really said about the bullpen other than, they didn't have Chapman anymore. They traded away Lecky. And then other than that, they were just thinking, okay, Michael King's coming back. You also had the guys that you thought could be in the bullpen, but then had to become starters because of the injuries to the rotation and that kind of a thing. But yeah, could you imagine if they did do that trade right before? That would be something. But again, it's almost like, who would they even move at this point? I feel
especially because if they moved Glaber, they couldn't have 14 pitchers anyway. So what would you even do there? You have to send someone down.
Right.
It's going to be Hamilton. You lose Hamilton and throw just to get a lefty.
Yeah.
For a month. It doesn't. A lot of it doesn't make sense. Now, if they made a big move to get insert big name free, big name reliever here, then sure. But I don't think you're going to see Peraza shipped out for a left-handed reliever. Come on, man, that's not smart.
No, they wouldn't. I don't think they would do that. I think the fan base would pitchforks and torches if that happened.
I'm rooting for Oswald.
I am too.
I think he's gonna pop off in AAA and make it even harder to
Yeah.
figure it out.
I think so too. And I'm going to say this now. I feel like the end of the season, up the middle, you're going to see Peraza and Volpe, and you might even see Volpe move to second, and you might see Glaber get traded away at the trade deadline.
Yeah. Or slid to third for something and Donaldson's gone or something.
See, that would be ideal. No offense to Josh Donaldson, but that would be ideal for me if they
Or
could
even
keep
Cabrera at third on a regular basis.
Yeah, because I mean, I love Glaber, and I feel like he could be really good, and I feel like he had moments last year, and you know, he can contribute. I feel like Josh Donaldson can't contribute to the lineup, but I feel like Glaber can. He's still young, and I don't want to see him go away, but I feel like the Yankees might do that.
We're getting off topic. We got to get these people out of here. You're hours away from opening day. You are 2 days from opening day. You have survived the offseason. And again, don't forget, our Ultimate Yankees Guide comes out tomorrow. So everything we just kind of dished on for a second, we're going into it all. Expect a bigger episode tomorrow with everything you need to know before that first pitch is thrown on Thursday afternoon. Get excited. Baseball is nearly here.
Yay. And thank you for making Locked On Yankees your first listen. And for your second listen, check out Locked On Fantasy Baseball with Matt and Dom as they bring you the best fantasy draft strategies every day. Find it wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm Stacey Gotsoulias. We'll see you tomorrow.